Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today, I'm bringing you a dramatic and emotional story about single Mom Ly Hoai Ca and Officer Hung. In this episode, an unexpected twist unfolds, and at the center of it all is Ha, the gentle man who once saved Hoai Ca from her darkest days. But what could have made Ha, the one who always stayed quietly in the background, finally decide to confess his feelings? And more importantly, how will Hoai Ca react to his heartfelt confession? Will she be moved by Ha's sincerity, or will her heart remain loyal to Hung, the man who has stood by her through countless storms? Everything will be revealed in today's episode, a story that's guaranteed to keep you on the edge of your seat until the very last second. In the past, Ha wasn't the gentle and calm man he is today. He used to be impulsive, addicted to pleasure, hanging out with friends, and never caring about the future. During those reckless days, Ha dragged his family into a mountain of debt. His parents aged rapidly from the stress, while he kept running away from responsibility. Because of those mistakes, Ha lived with deep guilt and self-blame. He once believed that for the rest of his life, he would remain nothing but a failure, forever burdened by his past. But everything changed, the moment Hoai Ca appeared. Hoai Ca was like a fresh breeze that swept through his darkened world. She never looked down on him, never mentioned his past mistakes. Instead, she quietly helped his mother, offering him gentle smiles and words of encouragement when he was at his lowest. That kindness slowly warmed Ha's heart, a heart that had long been buried in shadows. Then came the day Hoai Ca went missing, and Ha's world nearly collapsed. He was so worried he stopped eating and sleeping, searching through the mountains and forests without rest, defying all obstacles. Every passing second, he was haunted by the fear of losing her forever. And when he finally found her, the moment Hoai Ca broke down crying in his arms engraved one undeniable truth in his heart: he could no longer live without her. Yet, when Hoai Ca regained her memory and rekindled her love with Hung, Ha could only watch from a distance. He understood that between them were memories and sacrifices he could never replace. The pain was unbearable, so much so that on countless nights, he sat alone in the darkness of his room, convincing himself he must bury his feelings forever. But the heart, it doesn't listen to reason. His feelings for Hoai Ca didn't fade, instead, they grew stronger each day. Like a quiet flame, it burned, consuming his rationality and forcing him to face the truth within himself. And then, on a cold, rainy night, Ha made a decision he never thought he'd have the courage to make. He would confess everything. He no longer wanted to run. No matter the outcome, Hoai Ca had to know that there was a man who loved her with all his heart, despite his flawed past. Standing in front of her, Ha's voice trembled, but his eyes were unwavering. Hoai Ca, I know you love Hung. I know it better than anyone. But I can't stay silent any longer. I was once a man who made terrible mistakes, who dragged his family into ruin, but you made me want to be better. I love you. I've loved you for so long. In that moment, time seemed to stop. Hoai Ca was stunned, speechless. As for Ha, he simply smiled, a sad but peaceful smile, the kind only a man who has finally dared to bare his heart could wear, even if the answer might break him completely. Because maybe, amidst all this chaos, there might still be a chance, however small, that his love would no longer have to remain unspoken. That morning, Ha and Hoai Ca went into the forest together to pick bamboo shoots. The narrow trail was covered in dry leaves, and the wind rustled through the treetops, filling the air with a quiet, melancholic sound. Between the two of them, the atmosphere suddenly felt heavier than ever. Ha walked beside her, silent, as if carrying something enormous in his heart. Hoai Ca could feel it too. The way Ha looked at her, the way he cared for her, even the lingering silences between them, none of it was like before. She knew he was changing. But to her, Ha would always be like an older brother, the man who once saved her from her darkest days. She cherished him, cared for him like family, but in her heart, there was only one man, Hung. They ventured deeper into the forest. When they reached a small clearing, they stopped to rest. Ha built a small fire to keep them warm while Hoai Ca sat nearby, wiping the beads of sweat from her forehead. They exchanged a few light words, about how the bamboo shoots were more plentiful this season, or how Ha's mother was finally recovering from her cold. But then, Ha fell silent. He looked at Hawaii Ca for a long moment, his eyes holding an ocean of unspoken feelings. His heart pounded wildly, as if it would burst from his chest. He knew that if he didn't speak now, he might never have the courage to say it again. Taking a deep breath, he spoke softly. Hawaii Ca, I know you love Hung. And I know, my feelings might only make things harder for you. But I can't hide it anymore. I love you. I've loved you for a very long time. Hawaii Ca froze, her eyes widening in surprise. Ha continued, his voice trembling but determined. I'm not asking you to answer right now. I just want you to know that what I feel is real. I promise, if you give me a chance, I'll be a good husband, a good father. I'll love Tony as if he were my own son. All I want is to be by your side, to protect you and your child, even if it's just once in my life. His words tore through the quiet of the forest like a sharp breeze. Hawaii Ca lowered her head, her heart in turmoil. She could feel the sincerity in every word, the deep love Ha had carried for so long. But her heart had belonged to Hung for as long as she could remember. She let out a quiet sigh, ready to speak, but Ha gave her a small, bittersweet smile. Don't answer me yet, Hawaii Ca. I only need you to know how much I love you. No matter what happens, I won't regret this. ChatGPT said. Hearing Ha's heartfelt confession, Hawaii Ca froze for a moment. She never imagined that the man who had always quietly helped her carried such deep feelings in his heart. But she quickly regained her composure, took a deep breath, and looked straight into Ha's eyes with unwavering resolve. On Ha, her voice was gentle yet firm, I'm truly grateful for everything you've done for me and Tony. To me, you're not only my benefactor but also like an older brother, a part of my family that I deeply cherish. But I can't return your feelings. In my heart, there's only Hung. The world seemed to fall silent. Ha lowered his head slightly, a faint, bittersweet smile appearing on his lips. Deep down, he had already expected this answer long ago. But hearing it come from Hawaii Ca's own lips still sent a dull ache through his chest. Yet Ha didn't blame her. Instead, he gave a small nod, his voice calm and steady. I understand. I've been ready for this answer for a long time. I just want you to know, no matter what, I'll still be here. If you ever need help, if Tony ever needs a shoulder to lean on, or even just someone to be there, don't hesitate to call me. I would consider it the greatest blessing of my life. Hawaii Ca looked at him, her eyes glistening with emotion. She knew the love Ha had for her was not demanding, not forceful. It was a quiet, steadfast love, selfless and enduring. And it was precisely that selflessness that made her respect him even more. Ha gave her a soft smile, though there was still a trace of sadness within him. But he had chosen acceptance. He had chosen to remain by her side, not as a lover, but as a brother, a friend, a strong pillar she could always count on in difficult times. In Hawaii Ca's heart, Ha's strength only deepened her belief that sometimes, love doesn't have to mean being together. Sometimes, love is simply protecting from afar, watching over someone silently, and expecting nothing in return. The man who once let Hawaii Ca slip away and is also Tony's biological father, had long carried an unshakable burden of guilt. He had witnessed how Ha cared for Hawaii Ca more than usual, and it only deepened his unease. Though he knew Hawaii Ca's heart belonged solely to Hung, deep down, he still held onto a fragile hope, that one day, she might return to him because he was Tony's father. That day, after a long business trip in the commune, Du hurried straight to Ha's house, where Hawaii Ca was staying. The afternoon rain had just stopped, and the dirt road leading to the house was still dotted with puddles, but Du didn't care. He stood at the door, his hand clenched tightly, as if gathering every ounce of courage he had left. When Hawaii Ca came out to greet him, Du's eyes were filled with determination and a hint of pleading. He looked deep into her eyes and spoke in a warm but slightly trembling voice. Haai Ca. I know your heart belongs to Hung. But I am Tony's father. I can't stand by and watch you shoulder everything alone any longer. If you give me a chance, I promise I'll take care of both you and Tony, and make up for all the mistakes I made. Will you move in with me, and let me take care of you and our son? His words fell heavy, and the world seemed to go silent. Haai Ca lowered her head, her heart wavering for a moment. She knew Du was truly remorseful, truly wanted to make things right. But her heart, it hadn't changed. She gently shook her head, her voice soft but resolute. Du, I'm grateful for your kindness. I know Tony needs a father, but you understand. I can't force my heart to love differently. I've chosen to wait for Hung. No matter how hard it gets, I'll be here, waiting for the day he comes back. Du stood in silence. He looked at Haai Ca for a long moment, pain flickering in his eyes, but also acceptance. He nodded slightly, forcing a faint, strained smile to hide his disappointment. I understand. If you ever need anything, just call me. I won't abandon you or Tony again. Even if I can't be your husband, I'll still be a father to him. Haai Ca gave him a small, bittersweet smile, though her heart felt heavy. She knew both Ha and Du loved her deeply, but she couldn't change her choice. For her, love meant loyalty, and her heart belonged only to Hung, the man still struggling to overcome the burdens ahead. And in that very moment, neither of them knew that from a distance, Ha stood silently watching, his eyes shadowed with a sorrow that words could not describe. While Ha and Du each carried a quiet, unspoken love for Haai Ca, somewhere else, Hung was struggling under the crushing weight of his world, pressure from work, the mountain of debt his mother had left behind, and the aching longing for Haai Ca, the woman he loved more than life itself. Hung's days began at 5 a.m. sharp. He would hastily eat a simple bowl of noodles before rushing to work. At the office, he worked like a machine, giving himself no room to rest. When his colleagues clocked out and headed home, Hung's day was far from over. He would begin his nightly routine, visiting close friends, distant acquaintances, anyone who might be willing to lend him a little money. Every time he gathered even the smallest amount, he carefully recorded it in his worn-out debt ledger, the endless rows of numbers burning into his tired eyes. But compared to the enormous debt looming over him, it was like throwing a cup of water into the sea. Many nights, Hung sat alone in his dimly lit room, the yellow light casting shadows across his gaunt face. His eyes were sunken, dark circles etched deep from countless sleepless nights. And yet, in those weary eyes still burned a single, unwavering spark, because he knew he could not give up. Haai Ca, who had always silently watched over him, had pleaded with him more than once. Hung, maybe you should sell the land where we made our memories. Or, sell the house Tony and I are living in. At least then you could ease some of this burden. But Hung only shook his head, his voice steady. No, Haai Ca. I can't do that. That land, it's where we once dreamed of our future together. That house, it's where you and Tony found a small piece of peace in the middle of the storm. I can't take away the only good things we still have, just to pay off this debt. And so, Hung worked even harder. By day, he fulfilled his duties at the office. By night, he hauled heavy loads at warehouses, sometimes even taking shifts as a night guard at a convenience store just to earn a little more. His friends, seeing him break himself down, begged him to stop. But Hung only gave them a faint, determined smile. I can't. I have Haai Ca. I have Tony. I don't have the right to fall. Yet the deepest wound in Hung's heart was his mother. The woman who had given him life, who had once tucked him into bed, who had smiled at him over family dinners, was now the same person who had left him drowning in debt. She had run away, as if vanishing could erase the consequences of her actions. On countless nights, Hung would stare at an old photo of himself with his mother. He remembered every hug, every moment she had fussed over his clothes, every laugh at the dinner table. And each memory twisted painfully in his chest. She's my mother, but I can't excuse what she's done. I have to find her. I have to make her turn herself in. Only then will this nightmare finally end, Hung whispered to himself, as if vowing to his own soul. He began reaching out to his contacts, quietly digging for any clue that might lead him to her. He knew this would be a long, grueling journey, but Hung was unafraid. He would rather face the truth head-on than live the rest of his life haunted by it. Deep in his heart, he clung to one belief: if he held on, if he stood his ground through all of this, there would come a day when he could return to Hawaii Ca and Tony, unburdened, free at last. He imagined that moment, holding them both close, all the pain washed away, and only peace remaining. That vision, it was the only thing keeping him going. But what Hung didn't know was that, while he was exhausting himself just to survive, far away, Ha and Du, two other men, were slowly stepping deeper into Hawaii Ca's life. And this might be the greatest test Hung would ever face. As for Hung's mother, since the day she fled with the money, her life had been nothing but fear and hiding. She knew full well, Hung, her only son, had discovered everything. He knew she had taken all the money and abandoned him to face the crushing debt alone. At first, she told herself that if she hid long enough, everything would quiet down. But the longer she ran, the worse her fear became. Every unexpected knock on the door made her heart leap into her throat. Every glimpse of a police uniform in the distance made her tremble. At night, she couldn't sleep. The small, cold room she rented felt more like a prison than a refuge. She didn't dare call anyone. She didn't dare return to any familiar place. She lived like a shadow, drifting from one hiding spot to another, praying no one would recognize her. But no matter how far she ran, she couldn't escape the nightmares. Time and time again, she dreamed of Hung standing in front of her, his eyes red, looking at her with nothing but heartbreak and disappointment. "I can't believe you did this, Mom." Those dreams left her trembling in the middle of the night, drenched in cold sweat. She would press her hands over her mouth and weep silently. Her fear wasn't just of the law, it was of the son she had betrayed. She knew this couldn't go on forever. Sooner or later, the law would catch up to her. Sooner or later, Hung would find her. There were moments, in her weakest hours, when she almost convinced herself to turn herself in. But fear always won. Fear of the cold steel handcuffs, fear of standing in a courtroom, fear of the furious faces of those she'd wronged, and most of all, fear of facing her son. What she didn't know was that Hung, even in his heartbreak, was still searching for her, not only to make her pay for what she'd done, but because he needed to look her in the eyes one last time and say, "Mom, stop running. End this, before it's too late." As for Hung's mother, ever since she fled with that enormous sum of money, her life has been nothing but endless days of fear and anxiety. She knows it all too well. Hung, her only son, has discovered the truth. He knows she was the one who took everything and vanished, leaving him to carry a mountain of debt alone. At first, she comforted herself, thinking that if she hid long enough, everything would eventually fade away. But the longer she ran, the greater her fear grew. Every unexpected knock on the door made her heart leap in terror. Every time she saw a police uniform on the street, it felt like her chest was about to explode. At night, she couldn't sleep. Her cramped rented room, with its cold, lifeless walls, felt like a prison cell. She dared not call anyone. She dared not show her face anywhere familiar. She lived like a shadow, drifting from place to place, praying no one would recognize her. But no matter how far she ran, she couldn't escape the nightmares. Time and again, she dreamed of Hung standing before her, his eyes red, staring at her with unbearable disappointment and pain. "I can't believe you did this, Mother." Those dreams jolted her awake in the dead of night, drenched in cold sweat. She would bury her face in her hands, sobbing soundlessly. Her fear didn't just come from the law, but from the betrayal of her own maternal bond. Deep down, she knew, this life of running couldn't last forever. Sooner or later, the law would come for her. And sooner or later, Hung would face her. Sometimes, in moments of weakness, she thought about turning herself in. But fear always won. Fear of the cold steel handcuffs. Fear of standing in court. Fear of the angry stares of those she had wronged. And worst of all, fear of seeing her son's eyes, filled with nothing but pain. What she didn't know was that Hung, despite his torment, was still searching for her. Not only to make her pay, but because he wanted to look her in the eye one last time and say, "Mother, stop running. End this, before it's too late." While Hung struggles day after day to bear the crushing weight of his debts, juggling his office job and countless side hustles just to scrape together every single coin, his mother, the very person who set this tragedy in motion, hides in fear. She lives in the shadows, tucked away in an unfamiliar place, too terrified to step into the light. But how long can she keep running? The law never forgets, and neither will a mother's guilty conscience. Meanwhile, Haai Ca, the woman who has already endured so much pain, waits faithfully. Though she knows the road ahead is full of hardships, she still believes that Hung will come back, and that true love will conquer all. And in the midst of it all, the man who once lived recklessly in debt, but has changed completely because of his feelings for Haai Ca, watches over her in silence. He doesn't expect his love to be returned, he only hopes to stay close enough to be her shelter when she needs it most. Then, suddenly, Tony's biological father, reappears, determined to right his past mistakes. He doesn't just want to be recognized as a father, he wants to win back Haai Ca's heart. Now, caught between Hung's love, Ha's quiet devotion, and Du's relentless pursuit, Haai Ca stands at a crossroads, unsure of which path to choose. Everything is spiraling into an emotional storm, dragging everyone into trials none of them could have foreseen. Can Hung find the strength to overcome his debts, confront his mother, and make her turn herself in? Will Haai Ca's faith in the man she loves be strong enough to endure? Or will the man who has hidden his feelings for so long, finally do something that changes everything? And will he step back once he learns that Haai Ca's heart belongs only to Hung, or will he fight until the bitter end, no matter the cost? But this is still not the end. Because there is one earth-shattering secret about Hung's mother that has yet to be revealed. A secret that, once uncovered, could change not only Hung's fate, but also turn Haai Ca's entire world upside down. Will the truth bring light to them all, or drag them into an even darker abyss? Stay tuned for the next episodes, where love, faith, and justice will be tested in ways none of them could ever imagine. Because what lies ahead is only the beginning of a storm that will push every heart to its limits.
Xin chào tất cả mọi người đã quay trở lại với kênh của mình. Hôm nay thì mình tiếp tục đưa mọi người đến với câu chuyện tình yêu của mẹ đơn thân Ly Hoai Ca và cảnh sát Hùng nha mọi người. Như mọi người cũng đã biết là bây giờ thì Hoai Ca đang bị vây quanh giữa vòng xoáy tình yêu giữa cả cô, Hùng, Hà và cả Đô nữa. Mối tình của cô bữa nay đang gặp rất là nhiều khó khăn, do hiện tại Hùng thì đang đứng trước ranh giới nợ nần và công việc thì đình trệ. Ngoài ra mẹ anh thì đang lại trở thành tội phạm nữa. Điều đó khiến cho anh cảm thấy vô cùng áp lực trong cuộc sống. Tuy nhiên anh vẫn luôn cố gắng để dành những điều tốt đẹp nhất cho Hoai Ca. Còn Hoai Ca thì cô đang đứng giữa vòng xoáy của tình yêu, khi Hà là người đàn ông đã cứu mạng cô, cũng đã ngỏ lời yêu với cô, và Hùng, người đàn ông bao nhiêu năm tháng nay cô yêu, thì Hoai Ca sẽ lựa chọn như thế nào thì mời mọi người đón xem ở những tập tiếp theo nhé mọi người.